Hello beloveds, welcome back to my channel. So today's topic I am calling tough love advice because firstly, it's something that I am quite frequently asked and I don't always fully reply to it, and I'm about to explain why. It might not be what some of you want to hear and it might be taken the wrong way, which most things are online, unfortunately. So this is something that has been on my mind before when I'm asked these particular questions online. And I was watching a show the other day that gave me the idea to actually make a video about this. So I have never owned a TV in my life or I don't own a TV. I've never watched TV shows until just a few months ago. My sister left Netflix on my laptop, and next thing I knew, I was sucked into it and I went on a little Netflix spree. There's a show that I was watching called Shameless. I'm not anymore because I've gone cold turkey from that whole digital world. But I was watching Shameless, and if you've seen this show, the main character is Fiona, and she basically grew up in the ghetto and is trying to get out of it and make something of herself. So she's working at a restaurant and she hears that a local lady, a very successful woman who owns a lot of the buildings on her block, never graduated high school. So she starts researching and she believes that she can do this too. Seeing this lady's success gave her hope. She sees this lady eating at a restaurant one day and asks her, "How did you do it?" Something along those lines, and she asks for her advice to do the same thing. And the lady says, "My advice is don't do it." And Fiona's like, "Why? What do you mean?" And the lady says, "Anyone who comes and sit down and asks me how I did it doesn't have the balls to go do it themselves and doesn't have the balls to go through with all the big decisions that it takes to do the type of business that she's doing and to be an entrepreneur." And she tells Fiona it's okay for some people to work for employers and be an employee their life. Not her path is for everyone. So Fiona's pissed off and she goes to go prove her wrong. And she's a little bit more tough love than I'm going to be, but the point is, if you really want to do something, you're going to go out and do it. And if it's difficult and you can't figure it out, you're going to figure it out. You're going to figure out a way for it to work. And I do spend a lot of time out of my day writing back as many messages as I possibly can. But when I get the messages asking me, "How do you manage to travel so much?" and "How did you become a yoga teacher?" Like, I'll share my trainings with people, but "How did you write a book? How did you go about writing a book? How can I be successful at teaching, or how can I be successful at content creating?" Whatever it might be that they want advice on. And the thing is, I'm not at all saying that it's wrong to ask for advice, but to ask people how they've done something so that you can go do it. Firstly, we are all on our own paths. So you can't look at one person and know how they did it. Anyone, even Bill Gates, even if he wrote a book saying exactly how he did it, you can go try and do the same thing and it's not going to work for you because you're your own unique individual and your whole reality is different. Kind of the message behind what that lady said is, anyone who is sitting at their computer looking at other people's lives and writing them, "How did you do it? How did you do it?" probably, not always, but a lot of the time isn't going to be the person to get out there and begin taking action and make those dreams a reality. And that's totally fine. Not because you're meant to work for someone else, but because maybe that's not your path. Maybe you're not fully passionate about it. It is really easy today to go on social media and see thousands of people living amazing lives, and this is the highlights of their lives, so it's not the reality. But it's really easy, even for me, to sit and see someone who say they travel the world full-time and they make a ton of money. And I'm wondering, wow, how do they make so much money living this amazing life? I really want to know. So what do? I go do research on how I can make a lot of money while I travel. And I spent years researching that before I actually began to make decent money and reach my financial goals. It took me probably 4 years of studying and committing myself and studying what other people do. That's not a bad thing, but then figuring out how to do it in my own way. And when I first began social media and being consistent on it few years ago, and people would ask me these questions, I would actually spend so much time writing paragraphs of how everything that I learned that took me years to learn and years of trial and error, and I would give it all in a few paragraphs, which is really juicy paragraphs for someone who truly wants to put in the work and to do similar things to what other influencers are doing. So I would give all this information and I'd feel good. I like helping people. And then I'd look on their social media a week later and they're doing exactly what they did before they contacted me, and they didn't do any of my advice. And I had spent so much time and my energy really building basically a business portfolio for someone for free, and they wouldn't even do it. And this happens so many times, even with close friends of mine, because they see my social media and see that I'm traveling and they want to do it too. So they ask, but then they don't realize that it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. And perhaps that's not something that they're truly passionate about. And I'm not judging in any way. This actually just recently, I did the same thing where a lot of my friends are DJing and music producers. And I love psytrance. So I was like, this looks pretty easy. I'll just, buy all the equipment, buy the software that I need, and I'm going to start producing and DJing. And even though I have like 100 other projects on the go right now, I want to do this because I'm really passionate about this genre of music. And then I sat down with all the stuff, and I have learned to DJ. I'm still continuing with that. But I sat down with the production software and everything, and I'm like, takes a lot of passion and a lot of commitment. And at this time in my life, I don't have that because my passions are elsewhere. I have a lot of upcoming projects and events, and I just kind of put that aside. So it happens, we see something that looks really fun, like being on stage and bringing beautiful energy through music to people is a dream of mine, and I've done it in yoga classes, but psytrance is a bit more upbeat, and that would be really fun for me. So that's just something I saw, and I thought, I could do that. And then when it came down to it, it's not something that I'm ready to commit myself to right now. And the people that are on stage and that are successful have been doing it for 10 to 15 years. So I talk to my friends and that's what they say. And I'm like, okay, so by the time I'm 35, I might be able to produce something decent. And maybe I will, I plan to, but it's not something that I'm going to start going and working on all day and going out there and taking action to get that done. I've said it so many times before that people on social media or what you see, just pictures of them, even your friends, it's just the tip of an iceberg of so much hard work that goes underneath. And yeah, we all want a really simple solution. So I think a lot of people that write me and say, how did you do this? How are you living a life like this? I think they are looking for a simple solution and an easy way to get there. And my path has never been easy. I grew up with pretty much nothing, and I was in abusive relationships when I was younger, and they didn't want me to work. So I had no work experience when I was about 20, 21, went out into the world and I had graduated high school early, so I had like 5 years of no work, and I was young and I didn't know what to do. I was actually assaulted pretty badly, and the bills from that assault, my medical bills, cost my college tuition that I saved up. So at 20, I really had nothing saved. I had no way to go to university, and I didn't know what to do. So I had to think outside of the box, and I spent a lot of time figuring out, and I asked a lot of people for help. I had to put my ego aside and know that I needed help. And the first job I got to get to China was probably the 25th employer that I called and said, listen, this is my situation. I'm getting out of an abusive relationship. I have no work experience, but I have a lot of work ethic, and I will do whatever it takes. If you can front me the money to get my plane to China, I will you know, I will do whatever you want when I get there. I will work 16 hours a day every single day to pay you back. I will be so appreciative, and you will seriously help me turn my life around, because I'm stuck in a crappy little town in Canada. I don't want to be here. This is my situation, you know, and I will do whatever it takes to get out of it. And eventually, one employer agreed to do that, paid for my flight, set me up with accommodation, and allowed me to pay the following month, which I did. And that was the start of my traveling career, finding different jobs. I'd started networking. I really, you know, nothing came easy. It was a lot of searching, but what it wasn't a lot of was asking people how they did something. So I think we need to take a little bit more of the focus off of people that we see online and put the focus back onto ourselves. Meditate on it, figure out what you actually want to do with your life. You know, something might look really fun and really pretty, but is that what's actually going to fulfill you? And do you want to put in the work? Is it worth that work for you? So someone who is absolutely passionate about music, yeah, 15 years of work to actually be successful in that line of work is worth it. For me right now, it's not worth it, because that's not what I want in this life. You know, I want to have a yoga retreat one day, and my stuff is more focused on helping others. Forge your own path. No one has the exact same dreams as you. I mean, we have so much information online today that it's really easy to figure things out for yourself. Take action of your life. And I will again say that it's not bad to ask for advice, but I think a better way to approach it, if you are interested in connecting with influencers and networking in people doing the same line of work as you, one thing I have always done as a rule of thumb is to ask them how you can help them, rather than writing and expecting them to write you back, because they're very busy. If they're successful, they're probably busy. And I had someone write me recently upset that all these other influencers never responded to him, and that he really hopes I would respond and tell him how he can begin being an influencer. And there's so much information online that can help you with that. The thing is, if you ask someone who already is doing what you want to do, if they need help, there's a good chance that they might appreciate that, and you stand out more from people that are always asking for help and always asking for advice. So, for example, when I became a yoga teacher, my dream is to own a yoga retreat one day somewhere tropical and not in freezing cold Canada where I am right now. So I looked at women all around the world who were basically living my dream life. And I found a lady who has a beautiful retreat center in Malaysia. And this was about 4 years ago. And I wrote her, introduced myself. I said, if there's any way I could come, work for free, volunteer at your retreat, you know, have her as my mentor if she had the time, or I could even just be a personal helper for her classes and just observe what she's doing. And I told her, I have a similar dream, and if there's any way that I can possibly assist you, I would be forever grateful. And she wrote me back, and I ended up staying there for a few months, and we became good friends. And now she's one of my greatest mentors and has really helped me visualize what I want for the future. So I hope that all makes sense to you guys. And seriously, we have this one life. Figure out what your dreams are and go chase them. And if you guys have missed it, I am now posting 3 videos a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. So hopefully I'll catch you again soon. Hit the subscribe button to stay up to date, and best of luck chasing your dreams.